Hello and welcome to a new video. Today we're going to take a look at a very cool team for the current Fantasy Cup. This is going to be a team that's also no XL, but of course we have a legendary Pokemon in the Giratina Origin here. You could also use the normal Giratina, but I feel like Origin just fits a little bit better for this team. But yeah, today we're going to take a look at Scizor. This Pokemon is actually super underrated. The Shadow Scizor are going to be able to beat all Fairy-type Pokemon, but also can still resist all the Dragon-type damage. It has super effective hits against something like Giratina with Night Slash, as well as you're going to be able to still do something at least against Steel-type Pokemon, which is also fairly nice. So, in this case, it's a very good safe swap, and you're going to see me using Escavalier in the back as well. You know that I like ABB lines a lot, but I really like ABB lines if opponents just predict something different in the back. And this is kind of what this line does here. Like, you think that if you swap in something that's a bug in Steel-type Pokemon, that's most likely the Escavalier. But we have the Scizor here, which can get some people off guard and swap into a Pokemon that they don't really want to swap in. This was at least my idea here. That, for example, people swap in their Giratina, which would be really good against Escavalier, but it's really bad against the Scizor. So let's see how well this worked out. And I can say already, this team worked out insanely well, and I can highly recommend it to you. But there are also some problematic ones, and there are also some things that you have to play a certain way, and you kind of have to learn this team a little bit, because I don't think it's straightforward. So this time here, I did predict that the opponent going to bait me. Worked out super well, great prediction by me, I would say. But of course you can now take a look what we have to do here. We're going to have to use a shield because Giratina is going to be an awkward one to face for our Pokemon in the back with the Escavalier. But as so we'll be able to get a lot of energy here, get the Night Slash off, and we're gonna see most likely the Registeel coming back in. And now it's just a Flygon here as we can go ahead and go for the drill run. We could have had this game so much easier if I just shielded in the beginning where the opponent went for a Shadow Ball, but no, I didn't. So this is my own fault, but they go at least straight for the Earth Power here right now. And of course, we have a Trash Can against us here, so we're gonna go ahead and go for the Acid Spray just to demolish their defense and get the final hit by the opponent, allowing us to get a ton of drop here onto the opponent, but also a ton of damage already just from counter alone. They don't knock us out, or Escavalier has great IVs, and we can move on to the next game. Dragonite in the lead. This is going to be an interesting one here right now, as I will be able to swap out immediately into my Scizor. And I have to say, I just battled the person before with a different team, and I know the team. So that's why I was able to play this team a little bit different. This is of course something that rarely happens where I see, okay, this name of this player, I know or I remember the team, but for this opponent here, I definitely remembered the team, which helped out quite a bit because I know that they're going to have an Excadrill in the back. And I will be able to just play around this right now. So if you see me doing some interesting plays or like a little bit of a different way of playing this game here right now, for example letting this move go through even though it's going to be a super effective Dragon Claw, the main reason for this is I just know what they have in the back, and I know that my Escavalier going to have a great time here against their backline, as the Excadrill has nothing that they can do about it. We're going to use a shield here for a potential superpower, which is going to not be the case. It's going to be the Dragon Claw, but still, you can go ahead and go for 2 drill runs here in order to knock out the opponent's Excadrill. They can still outspeed me, but they cannot do anything about it because I will be able to just go ahead, go straight for my next charge move, knock them out. I still have some health left on my Escavalier anyway. The opponent is forced to go ahead and go for a superpower, and we still would have had our Giratina in the back. So this is going to be a very easy game, as we can now move on into the next one. Great lead for us. Registeel is usually a very decent one, and we're gonna see now the Slurpuff coming in. I think I misplayed this one. Let's see if this was the game that I misplayed or not. We will find out shortly. Flamethrower coming through. I will have to go for, yeah, this is the game which I misplayed. I thought they needed one more fast move after this one to get to the Flamethrower. Turns out I cannot count at all, and I completely misplay this game. I should have just went straight for Iron Head. I would have been able to realign, I would have had a great time here, but no, I didn't. And so I'm forced to go ahead and go for a Night Slash, which does basically no damage against the Registeel, because Registeel is kinda unfair, but at least I'm going to be able to catch a move here on my Giratina. Can we still come back from this? Of course, it's going to be a Flash Cannon. For whatever reason, they don't go for a Focus Blast slash the Zap Cannon, which would be at least neutral. No, they're gonna go straight Flash Cannon, which is really bad for us. In comes another Fairy-type Pokemon, which is going to be the Weezing, which is just not ideal for me. But I can go ahead, go for the Night Slash here. Is this still possible to win? We're gonna get the shield from the opponent. We can still get to the Iron Head, and we can say goodbye to the opponent's Weezing, as this Weezing is still going to survive this one. That's kinda wild. Overheat going to knock me out. Now it's down to Escavalier against the opponent's Registeel, and while I misplayed this game quite a bit here, I will be able to easily win this game, as neither the Zap Cannon or Focus Blaster would have knocked me out here anyway, and we were actually still able to come back from this, which was really nice to see. So, next game, we're going to have a very bad lead for us right now. The Giratina is basically the worst possible lead to face for this team here, as it's going to be a guessing game. If I go for Shadow Ball, I basically knock them out straight away. If I go for the bait here, I might get the boost and might get a shield. Turns out the opponent just doesn't want to shield. I don't know why, but this is definitely a risky play by the opponent, as he's gonna get out now the Tapu Fini, which is going to be okay for us, but I'm still forced to shield this move up, and again, because I feel like I only get to a Night Slash and an Iron Head, I kind of want to go for the bait first and then try to go for the actual move, and my opponent calls it again, which is great on their play. Like, honestly, they played this really well. They just made the right calls the entire time. Of course, I'm also going to now die directly onto the charge move, because if the game already goes bad because the opponent just going to call every bait, it has to go completely bad. And like this, there is basically no way of me winning this game here. The opponent has too much health, I think, left on the Giratina in order to knock it out. They can even go for a Surf still in order to get me into the nearly red health. I can go for one Drill Run. But unless they have something like, I don't know, an Alolan Sand Slash or something, even then, like, honestly, our health is just too low because of the Dragon Claw plus the Shadow Claw from the opponent. So, it's unlikely. It's unlikely that there's anything in the back that we can still beat, and it actually would have been the Alolan Sand Slash, which would have been amazing for Escavalier if we just had a little bit more health left, but sadly, we don't. So, let's move on to the next game. We're going to have a Weezing in the lead. This is going to be very bad for us, but we can swap on to the Scizor, getting out the Fire Fang Zacian. Great for me. I didn't get to the Iron Head, so I'm forced to go for the Night Slash here, which gonna get the shield and gonna get the boost, which literally doesn't matter, but it's fine, as I can now go ahead and go into my Giratina. What we're going to do here right now is we're going to use a shield, because they're most likely gonna go for the play rough right now. I will be able to just get rid of that one, and I can just farm them all the way down. Fire Fang does nothing to me. So, now we have a Shadow Ball stored, and we're going to see the opponent going into a Pokemon that I don't want to face at all. It's going to be the Sand Slash. I'm forced to swap out immediately, and in comes again, of course, the Weezing, which has access to the move Overheat. And as you might have guessed already, this is not looking too good for us. We swapped at the same time though, so we know when they can swap out as well. And the Overheat comes through from the opponent. I will be able to go for another Drill Run here right now. It just still does not look too good. We're going to see that they can go for their next charge move now as well. And afterwards they can swap out again, clear the debuff, and go into the Ice-type Pokemon against our Giratina. At least that's what I thought. But no, they're going to go for the Play Rough for whatever reason, because now we can just go for a Shadow Ball, knock them out here. And the Play Rough was 4 times debuffed. So if they just swapped, I don't think there was a chance of me winning this game if they just swapped, because I wouldn't have been able to farm up to 2 charge moves anyway, so don't know what they really tried to do there. Swapping out would have won them the game immediately here, but I can now go ahead and move into the next game, which we're going to encounter now, the Empoleon, a Pokemon that I really would like to see getting buffed a little bit again. This Pokemon is still kind of cool, but it's not as great. I really hope that 3 and 4 turn moves going to get a little bit of a more love for the upcoming season, because everything currently is 2 or 1 turn moves, and I feel like you kind of need a little bit more of diversity. Like, look at this team here right now that we are playing. 2 turn move Shadow Claw, 2 turn move Bullet Punch, 2 turn move Counter, and basically there's no diversity really between the, other than 1 and 2 turn fast moves. There's basically nothing that really is worth playing right now. Greninja was a cool add-on already, I feel like, with the 3 turn Water Shuriken, which has really great stats, which I really like to see, because it's always a disadvantage to go for higher turn moves, because it's difficult to catch, because it's difficult to align your fast move correctly, and also you're going to get a little bit of a less damage output if you have a little higher turn moves, because you don't hit as significantly back to back, which makes bulk points and what's all either bulk points as well as break points not as important for 3 turn / 4 turn / 5 turn fast moves compared to 2 and 1, because it just doesn't impact it as often. So it's always like a little bit of a worse play there to have a 3 turn fast move, which is kind of sad to see. So hopefully for the upcoming season we're going to see some changes toward that. Let's take a look at the next game. We're going to have a Haxorus in the lead, and not ideal for us, but we can stay in and we can definitely take a breaking swipe. I should have went for the Shadow Ball. I just bait too often, especially with something like the Giratina. I see myself baiting the entire time where I don't have to, and my opponent just taking advantage of that. And I'm going to now go ahead and use a shield against the opponent, which is still going to allow us to realign our Pokemon here, but the opponent is going to go ahead and go for a charge move here onto our Scizor. It's going to debuff our attack, but at least, no, it's actually going to be the Night Slash, which is even better for me. In comes the Escavalier, which is a little bit awkward to play against, but we can at least still go ahead, go for the Night Slash, gonna get them low enough that maybe I can even go for my favorite bait here right now with my, what's called Giratina there, but actually, I'm gonna go ahead and go into my Escavalier. And this seems to be a weird play for the time being right now, but honestly, I feel like this is the right call, because we're going to be able to now use 2 shields, but we still have Acid Spray. And Acid Spray is, in my opinion, the way to victory. It's very likely that they're going to have a Steel type in the back, which is going to be Giratina. This is not a Steel type. So yeah, never mind. We are completely calling the team wrong here, and the opponent can knock me out, and there's nothing I can do here. So, spoiler alert, this did not work out as well as I thought, but I was a little bit surprised that I see a Dragon type lead and a Dragon type in the back. So I thought it would be a double Steel line, which does make more sense in my opinion, so I didn't predict the team right, which is fine. But now we're going to encounter a Weezing in the lead. This is actually a matchup that I think you can win. Just win straight, going like straight for the Shadow Ball here. Should be totally fine to win this game, or like this matchup here at least. But maybe, just maybe, we're going to swap out later onto a play rough into our Steel type Pokemon. But it's of course a little bit risky. What if they're gonna go for an Overheat afterwards? So what's going to happen then? We will never find out, because they're actually gonna go ahead and go straight for the charge move against me, which is going to be a play rough and doesn't do too much damage. In comes Excadrill, something where I can at least go ahead and go for the Night Slash. But it's going to be a Pokemon that definitely going to still be able to realign here. But does it really matter? I don't think so, because I still have my Escavalier in the back, which will be able to go for a counter down. They still get to another charge move. I'm going to shield this move up because Excadrill is a very attack weight in the Ultra League. But this will allow me to reach a charge move in time against whatever comes back in. It's going to be the opponent's Escavalier. I can swap out, try to swap onto the charge move, didn't work out, but they are just not throwing for whatever reason. They decided, okay, we're going to counter down this Ghost type Pokemon today, it's definitely going to work out well. Turns out it didn't turn out well. And also, we can still go for another charge move here, which is a mistake. I should have went... Never mind, it actually knocks them out. I thought actually it would not knock them out by quite a bit, but still, this was a very good game for us, very nice for us. We're going to see a Berserker in the lead. Core Breaker for both of our lead as well as our Say Swap, so it's a little bit awkward. But actually, this is incorrect, because Night Slash does way more damage than I thought. They're gonna go ahead, go for the Iron Head, which means that they're running Iron Head plus the Close Combat, which is fine for us, especially as we're going to be able to boost here, and especially as you're going to be able to just use a shield again against the Iron Head, and in comes the Registeel. I don't want to lose my Scizor yet. I want to kinda catch a move here, and this worked out very well here as well, as it's going to be a Focus Blast, basically doing 0 damage here. So, we still have our Scizor in the back. We are in a shield disadvantage here, which is totally okay for us still, because we have the health advantage, as well as we're going to be able to now farm down the opponent's Registeel. They have Zap Cannon, they don't do damage against me. Okay, it still did more than it should have done, but we don't talk about this. We're gonna talk about a Berserker going down to one Omniazone here at least. And now it just depends on what they have in the back. It's going to be a Grind Ball. I can swap out. And you know, my favorite move, it's still my Excadrill. Escavalier. I always mix them up. Escavalier, going to have Acid Spray here. And the opponent's defense is just down the drain. Which is also down the drain is going to be the Grand Ball here right now. Is this next Drill Run going to easily knock them out and win me the game here? So let's move on into the next game coming up. We're going to have the Giratina in the lead. Amazing. No, it's not. Let's see. Maybe this time around they're going to shield my bait. As a Shadow Ball literally would obliterate them. It's super effective. It's stab. It's a hard hitting move. Way harder hitting than a Dragon Claw or a Shadow Sneak. So let's see what the opponent gonna do. Hooray, again, but at least we're gonna get the boost this time around. Does it matter? I don't really think so, to be fair. But let's see what we can do here. We can go for another charge move. Now we can force shield by the opponent. Is this worth it? It is maybe worth it, maybe not. Who knows? They, of course, can farm us down with 1 HP. So, yeah, we're going to see the Ancient Power coming through, doing a ton of damage against me, and it's going to be the Primarina in the back, but we, of course, still have to stay in here. But it's not looking too good. Do they have Double Charm? They might have Double Charm. They're going to have Tapu Fini in the back? Let's see, we can go ahead and go for a drill run. This is still not over yet, at least, but it's going to be tough. I'm going to be able to get a lot of damage onto them right now, but now I can go for the acid spray. I'm going to shield up the incoming serve. But honestly, having a resisted fast move compared to the neutral one-turn fast move from the opponent seems to be a little bit of a stretch. I have to try to swap out in time, but the switch clock was not even close to being up again. And like this, sadly, Tapu Fini going to be the one that's going to knock me out and win this game for the opponent. So good game there, close one, but we can now move on into the final game of today's video. A little bit of a longer video. If you enjoy those a little bit longer videos, feel free to leave a like, but we're going to encounter now a Haxorus, which is going to be an interesting one. They are not going to go straight, they're going to use one extra fast move, as now we are going to be at the Shadow Ball and they're going to go for the breaking swipe right now. I'm going to go for the bait, because if you bait, it's definitely always great. As you're going to get the shield from the opponent this time around, I will be able to swap out into my Scizor, get the energy advantage, and I should be able to outspeed the opponent. And this is exactly what we can do here. Is this Night Slash going to go through? Does it knock them out? It does not, because they're going to use a shield. But surprise, surprise, we're gonna get the buff, and this will allow us to farm them down here, as now the Tapu Fini comes in. We can get some damage onto them, but it's still going to be a tough matchup overall, as we're going to be able to knock out the opponent. Not really, we're just gonna get some damage onto them, and of course I can still get to a move. I think it's a surf. I think we could have survived this one. I don't think the shield was really necessary, but at least we can overfarm by quite a bit and have another move sword after this one, which will maybe allow us to get a knockout later on. Well, let's see what's coming in afterwards. We will find out shortly. It's going to be a Registeel, and of course I can try to overfarm by quite a bit, and this works out fairly well, but I make a little bit of a mistake here, maybe by staying in that long, because now I guess I can still go for another Shadow Ball. That's kind of fine. I can swap out now. I can go into my Escavalier and they're going to have a ton of energy. They actually have 100 energy. But they're also in farm down range for just counter. Same goes for the Haxorus. And of course, I can go ahead and knock them out. But they're going to forfeit before that. And this is going to be it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, feel free to check out the videos on the screen right now. And I see you then. Bye bye.